Morning to you this morning on Today in L.A. My name is Mike Amos. His name is Bill Rice Jr. and his name is Forrest Lee. And we start the day on a Monday, and of course a lot went on this past weekend. In fact, one event, Forrest, is Troy blanking Florida State in baseball.
Yes, we played them tough. All three games. We lost the first game, I believe it was 3-2, and won the second game 3-0. And the Troy Trojans were ahead 2-0, and lost the last game 4-2 against Florida State. And
number 20 in the country, right?
Yeah.
We're 21-21 on the season, 7-8 in the conference, and we play Coastal Carolina all at noon this weekend, and then we'll play Alabama State at home next Tuesday, and we'll close out the season at home against Arkansas State, and then we'll travel to Louisiana. So the season's not quite over. There's probably about
to give you a rundown of that big game, how many teams do you know go to Florida State and shut them out? And this is how it happened. Troy secured his first ever road win against Florida State by shutting out the number 20th team and on a hot afternoon at Dick Howser Stadium. Orlando Ortiz tossed a sixth inning of scoreless ball, and the Trojans ended up scoring 3 runs and winning the game, of course, against Florida State. That was the first time since 1980 that Troy had won a game at Florida State. Of course, their program is one of the tops in the country. Nick Nolan broke up a perfect game in the scoreless tie in the 6th inning with a solo homer, a bomb that went over the Seminoles bullpen in left field. It must have been a bomb, and exited the stadium. So Ortiz, who is what started off as Troy's starter and best pitcher, is coming back slowly but surely. Struck out 6 and prompted two double plays as the Trojans won that outing. Logan Sherry, I have a hard time pronouncing his name. Seri, Logan Seri, doubled twice and navigated the plates and across the home field bleachers, and with the Seminoles in field playing in Caleb Bartolio.
Bartolero.
Yeah,
he's played golf with us before.
Smacked a hit toward the second baseman, forcing the double play and scoring the run. And Sherry, or Cerny, that's it, Cerny, added the insurance run in the 9th when he raced home on the 3rd pitch, on a wild pitch, that Troy wins the game. A big win, 3-0 over the Florida State.
And every game was close. Every game could have gone either way.
Yep.
So they're playing better. As we said off air, that this is the time of the year when you want to be playing your best baseball.
Now this is coming up this weekend. Troy's got a big game at Coastal Carolina, a big series, and then they. When do they come back to town? I want to say
play Alabama State next Tuesday at
Alabama State.
6 o'clock.
Yep.
And then we'll close out the season versus Arkansas State, and then travel to Louisiana. So there's
three
series
left.
left.
More, yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize they had so much.
And the lady, they'll finish up their season at South Alabama, 2 games this Thursday and Friday. And then they'll wait to see where they'll be seated at the Sun Belt Conference tournament in Troy next weekend.
Today in L.A.
Morning.
How you doing? Mike Amos calling from Grayton Beach, Florida. How's it down there, Mike?
It rained overnight, but it was a beautiful weekend. The water is crystal clear, like the Bahamas, and with the Caribbean and different spots, and man, it was a great start to May. My little girls were out in the lake. You know, the Gulf of Mexico is flowing into the lake, and they had a Paddle for Peace festival going on. So there's about 100 paddle boarders that went out into the water. So a lot of people in Great Beach over the weekend.
Well, that's awfully good. My granddaughters are doing well. Is that right?
Yeah, they're doing well. Tried to watch a little bit of the golf tournament yesterday at Valspar.
Keegan Bradley was winning.
Sam Burns won, former LSU player.
Okay.
His first PGA Tour win. Justin Thomas from Alabama, I think, finished in the top 15. Didn't really play great throughout the week, but ended up watching the rest of the draft. Alabama and Ohio State tied with 10 players drafted. Alabama ended up having a long snapper, Thomas Fletcher, that ended up getting drafted instead of Dylan Moses. How in the world does that happen, Bill?
You know, I was talking off camera to Mike and Forrest that all year long I had mentioned that Dylan Thomas was not the old Dylan Thomas this past year. Dylan Moses.
Dylan Moses, yeah.
If you watched him, I mean, there's no other way to say it. He was not good. He couldn't tackle and got blocked all the time. And the rest of the story seems to be that he had a bad knee injury and missed all of last year. We all know that. So he's coming back from a knee injury, which I personally know is tough. And then he had another injury to another knee, a different injury that he apparently hurt early in the season and played through all year with that pain and it bothering him. And so I would say that both of those injuries combined could make quite a difference in, you know, how you play. You know, the mental part of the game is tough to play when you're battling those. But frankly, I was not surprised at all that he didn't get drafted. I mean, if you actually watched his tape, I'm surprised. I don't know why somebody else didn't beat him out and why they kept playing him all year. I guess he's just such a good leader. And
he's going to join Urban Meyer at Jacksonville with the Jaguars. He's going to be put on a non-football injury list as he continues to rehab his knee. And according to this report, he's going to receive $70,000 guaranteed, $50,000 in his base salary, and a $20,000 signing bonus per a league report.
Good. I think if he can just get some time, and if he comes back to what he was before he got hurt, he can have a great NFL career. Let's just see. That might have been a fluke season.
Mike, couldn't he come back and play another year?
Could have.
I mean, he couldn't now. Maybe if he didn't accept that money, he couldn't he?
We lost Mike.
I know.
But yeah, you're right. He could have come back, but I guess he decided he had enough. If you read into Dylan, a lot came out about him. He almost quit during the season. He admitted that he was going through a lot of stuff we didn't know, and he toughed it out to his credit. And I actually think in the national championship game, in the last couple games, he was playing a little better, but he had some mental trauma going on, and
but he got nothing. I mean, that is just that's his.
The rest story is he was going into this season, or before he got hurt, he was considered a locked first-round NFL pick. He was one of the superstar signees of that 2017 recruiting class. So
you're on today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, I'm back again.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that Dylan Moses was at one time considered a lock first-round NFL pick. He was probably the number one pick in that signing class, when he was a signee. So this is surprising.
Yeah.
He was offered when he was an 8th grader.
Yep.
Oh, really? What is?
Yeah.
Alabama and LSU both offered him a scholarship when he was an 8th grade.
Oh, God.
He's from Louisiana.
Of course, our show is brought to you by Circle Insurance. Sam Judah, my good friend in Ozark, one of the leading insurers in that part of the country, and we appreciate him so much. And also our good buddies at Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy, and a lot going on downtown this weekend. I tell you what, if we get more things going on downtown, we won't be anywhere to park. I could not get over it. And we had this weekend we had the John Archer reunion, and I took them through Troy and all that. And boy, they said, I can't believe this. They said, I can't believe Troy looks like this. You know, they'd seen the campus, but then I took them up there where you live.
We could start a tour business.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to downtown Troy.
We went up West College and over to Hillcrest, and
You
all the rich
rent a
people.
van or a bus or what?
Yeah, a bus. I had a big bus, and it was a lot of fun. And a lot.
You get on the little microphone and.
No, well, I didn't have to have a microphone, but everybody really liked Hillcrest and the beautiful homes over there. We really don't realize what we have until we hear other people say things about it.
Hall Street is beautiful.
Yeah.
West Walnut Street is coming back.
Went up Crow Hill and showed them all the places up there, and
Crow Hill's beautiful.
all over. It's all over Troy, and they had a good
my
time.
dad used to do what you do, Mike.
Yeah, I know it. That's
they
right.
would have high school reunions.
Yeah.
And they would rent a bus. Or no, the city of Troy would provide a school bus.
Yeah.
And Dad would give about a 2-hour tour on Saturday morning of Pike County and Troy.
I thought about your dad. I sure did.
And they were the big hits. And then he also did it for the Pike County leadership classes that would go through the Chamber of Commerce program.
Yeah. Well, as many things as Farley.
Now you're doing it.
As many things as Farley is doing, he's involved in everything. I don't know if there's any busier guy than Forrest Lee. Tell us more, Forrest.
Well, Mike was talking about the Alabama and Ohio State had 10 players drafted. Georgia and Notre Dame both had 9 drafted.
Yeah.
Florida and Michigan had 8. LSU 7.
Wow.
Kentucky had 6
Yeah, that's
drafted.
good. Yeah.
Clemson had 5. Missouri had 5. Oklahoma had 5. And,
Can I make a point? I wrote a column and submitted it to AL.com. We'll see if they run it. I think I had an original point on the show on Friday. Alabama had 6 players drafted in the first round, right? We all know that. That ties a record. They had 10 selected overall. Well, how many of those players were actually from the state of Alabama? Of those 10?
Maybe
One.
that's right.
One.
Amazing.
So then I went and I counted up every recruit that Saban has recruited at Alabama that ended up going in the first round. 37 of them, which is amazing. Only 15 were from the state of Alabama. And then I said, well, what's the starting lineup of Alabama versus Ohio State? How many of those kids were actually from Alabama? You know how many starters for Alabama were from Alabama? 2.
3.
2.
Yeah.
So the key to Saban's success is what? Recruiting, yes, obviously,
Nationwide.
but nationwide recruiting.
well, counting Canada too.
Canada, Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then I went back even furthermore, and I looked at Dad's era from like the mid-'60s and early '60s. Where were all of these players from? Little, small Alabama towns. There was nobody from outside of Alabama until you got to Joe Namath. And these players were not going to the NFL, first round or otherwise. They were just average. So Coach Bryant figured out a formula where you could be a dynasty and compete for national championships without recruiting the 4- and 5-star chip studs from all over the country.
Did we have 4 or 5 studs back then, or everybody else probably recruited from within?
They all recruited from within about a 5-hour radius. You're
Except
right.
maybe
So-
the Notre Dames who could do it nationwide.
Yeah.
But Kansas has a new coach.
All right.
They hired Lance Leipold from Buffalo, and at one time he was at Wisconsin Whitewater at NCAA Division III football. He led them to 6 national championships in 07, 09, 10, 11, 13, and 14, and was a runner-up in 2008. He has the record for the fastest to 100 wins. He was 109 at Wisconsin Whitewater, and at Buffalo he was 37 and 33 So Kansas
Yeah,
has
one
a
of
new
one of those losses is to the Troy Trojans in the Mobile Bowl.
When would,
he's
oh yeah, uh-huh.
He's heading to Kansas.
That's right.
Yeah, you remember they played Troy and they had that Jackson kid, the quarterback, that was 6'7", and Troy got an early lead, and then Buffalo came back, and then Sawyer Smith led the comeback. Troy scored 2 late touchdowns, and that was it turned out to be Neil Brown's last win as Troy's head coach.
All
Did their
right.
running back go pro? That running back for Buffalo?
I don't know. I know they had a really good running back.
He was a short, stocky thing.
I'll tell
like a
you how
bowler.
this coach has to turn it around at Kansas. The theme of my last little monologue was you've got to be able to take average players or players that everybody else didn't recruit and make them winning football players. That is what causes that. Coaching.
And redshirting.
Well, development. But
Maybe a little bit of JUCO.
So, I mean, it's a given that you're not going to get the stud players, but I guess if you're an exceptional coach, you can take the average players that nobody else wanted and still beat the more talented rosters. But it takes a coach, excellent coach to do that.
Well, in the FCF playoffs, I have those scores.
Yeah,
if you
do.
want those.
Please.
We had Sam Houston State 24, North Dakota State 20.
Oh, me, that was big. Michael, finally somebody beats North Dakota State.
And
Well, they got beat earlier in the season. Southern Illinois beat them.
Yeah.
Delaware 20, Jacksonville State 14.
Yeah, right. No,
So they're out.
It'd be hard. Let me tell you this. It'd be hard for me to root for Jack State if they were playing Russia.
So was that Delaware at Jack State?
What?
Was it at Jack State or at Delaware?
It was
That's
at
a long
Jack State,
throw.
I believe. I believe it was at Jacksonville State.
They've got a Texas. Who beat Jack State?
Delaware.
Delaware Blue Hens.
The Blue Hens of Delaware. That's the president's team.
Yeah, it is.
And North Dakota, James Madison 34, North Dakota 21, and South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits 31, Southern Illinois 26.
Go Jackrabbits.
So the
right.
pairings next week's Delaware is at number 1 South Dakota State, and Sam Houston State is at James Madison.
You know, I have a son named Jack, and my nickname for him is Jackrabbit. And so I ordered some South Dakota State paraphernalia. So I've got a South Dakota State hat and T-shirt with the Jackrabbits on it. So
How many? I wonder how many games did that give like a team like Jack State played last year, this past year? I believe they probably played 12.
Jack State finished 9-2 all year before the playoffs because they played 4 games during the fall, and then they played the rest of their games in the spring. They lost in the fall to Florida State, and then they lost to Austin Peay in the spring, and then they, I guess, won 1 playoff game. So I think they won 10 games.
All right, well, tell me how many games they played. That'll tickle me. No, more than that now. Hey, listen to this.
Well, no, they played 4 in the fall.
Yeah.
They played at least 8 or 9 in the spring.
So that was 13 right there. And did they play? Is that how many they played? 13.
I mean, I think counting the playoffs, they played
Yeah.
close to 12 or 13.
Yeah. That band and all that. They got a lot of exposure, didn't they? Among their people.
Well, they haven't been playing any of these games on television. I hadn't been able to watch
I
it.
know. I hadn't seen
Some of them were on there yesterday. They were a lot of them
were
played on Sunday yesterday. What I saw.
Uh-huh.
Only
And
game I watched was Alabama State, Alabama A&M. I watched that
But
game.
one thing about it, take Jack State again, a lot of exposure, 13 games, that's a lot of exposure.
I wonder how many people were at
And those
the game.
ballerinas, you reckon those ballerinas performed and all that night? What do you think?
Hey, tell them I'm on Zoom if they want to put me on camera.
Yeah, he's on Zoom this morning. You want to put him on camera? All right.
I
Okay.
didn't go through hair and makeup for nothing.
Well, tell us more, Forrest. Forrest is our
They're
local
getting
reporter.
opened up at UAB, and then they'll travel to Florida State next year. Jack State will.
So they got to
I'm
turn
trying to
around
find.
I guess they don't need spring training this year, do they? They just had spring.
I know it. I know it.
They were 10-3 overall.
Jack said 10
10
and
and
3.
three.
Yeah, pretty
Well,
good.
that's a good season. That's a
Yeah.
really good season.
10-3.
Sure is.
They'll open up at UAB. No, I don't. Let's see. They're playing somewhere else other than at
So it's a
UAB.
good UAB team. In fact, if they play
Montgomery.
Carter.
They're playing in Montgomery.
All right, that's right. That's Montgomery team.
That's
That-
right.
That's Johnny Williams' bowl game, and we're gonna get up with Johnny soon about it. And
September
Wow.
1st on a Wednesday.
yeah,
On a Wednesday.
that's right. On a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday.
Uh-huh. I
And
think it's
then-
the first game of the season,
And then they'll
football
travel.
season.
Then they'll travel to Florida State.
So they could
You know
lose
what,
2 in a
I'm
row.
proud of,
Who do I
I'm
pull for
proud
on
of-
that one?
I'm proud of Troy's baseball program. They played a lot better this weekend. Showed a lot of pride.
They really did play well. In fact, they claim, I was listening to radio and the coach and all that talk. They feel like that this past weekend was one of the best weekends that they've had in years as far as quality baseball.
Well, it looks like they found some pitching, which is good. They need that going down the stretch.
Well, the Artez kid pitched 6 scoreless innings to the first ball game, and
Had a perfect game going.
yeah,
You know, Arts had well, he didn't.
He allowed
had
one
a no-
base
He had
runner.
a no-hitter going until the only hit he gave up was a solo home run.
And they
Yeah.
played Wednesday in a doubleheader. The winner of the game, Pike Lee, will travel to Morgan in Selma. They'll play a doubleheader this Wednesday. First pitch 4 o'clock, and the second game will be immediately after that game.
boy, isn't that terrible though? I mean, they've got to travel over 100 miles there and back, and play 2 ball games. And if they aren't, let's say they split it, they got to spend a night over there or come back.
Montgomery or somewhere.
And I have heard of it many times where they came back. Now, to me, 100 miles might not be much to you guys, but over 100 miles there and 100 miles back. Boy, let's see, what time would they get home if they could drove?
Late.
So
You make a good
it's a
point.
real advantage for the home team
You
there.
know, I made a point talking to Billy Hickson, or talking about Pike LeBel Arts, and we were talking about who was going to start the first game when they played Tuscaloosa Academy. I said, well, they're going to start their ace, Nelson, number
yeah,
one.
oh yeah.
But I've been thinking about that. I think his second
Yeah,
game.
that's why they've done.
I think that's smart, because here's the logic. If you'll stick with me, most every team also has an ace, right?
Yeah, oh,
you're,
yeah.
you're going to be,
Yeah.
you're going to be going up against a very good pitcher, so their ace could have just as good a chance to shut down you as your
Yeah.
ace does. So you could pitch ace, and the other team could pitch their ace, and you could lose a low-scoring game.
1-0, yeah.
But say you do not pitch your ace and you go ahead and lose the game, you still might win, but you lose, you're almost certain to win the second
Yeah.
game, because that team does not have 2 great pitchers.
And